off mute now.
Thank you. And I just want to briefly mention, Diane, I did say a little bit earlier, I know Diane, you weren't on at the time. So Diane works with, her group is, her organization is the Wonderful World of Wellbeing. Fantastic group of people. I know there's a lot of networking that Diane does online, but as I said, from my personal experience and linking to the evening's theme, I was at Kempton Racecourse, and what Diane must have done to step into the shoes of the previous people that ran a Mind, Body, Spirit show at a racecourse. You know, it's a nice big event, and to draw in all of these complementary therapists and get them to commit their time, their money to actually having stalls, not to mention the workshops that's going on. That's a huge endeavor to actually kind of get that thing working for the entire weekend. And I was involved in it, had a fantastic time, and of course met amazing clients. Of course, there was good money to be made as well. Very important, because we're all earning a living from what we do here. So Diane, hopefully the idea for this talk is for Diane really to share the magic and the soul of, you know, why it's important to be part of these types of events, especially if you are a complementary therapist and you're looking for that exposure for people to know that you're there. So without further ado, I'd like if we could all give Diane a round of applause. Diane Mitchell.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thanks Praveen and James for inviting me today to speak and share about why and how these festivals came about, and also to all of you for your patience in me arriving late this evening. I actually have come out of another meeting to come here, so that's why I'm late. So thank you for that. And I'm sorry that I know Nina were doing a mindfulness and I would have liked to have participated in it all, but I'm here. So this is basically it's an unabridged version. I'm used to talking off the cuff because, like you guys, I know my business and you guys know your business. So I don't normally rehearse speeches and what have you. I just say it as it is. But of course, I've been sort of, my festival business has been tossed to one side because of COVID. So I haven't actually spoke about it for a long time. And I've been focused in how we've progressed to the online world since. So if you can bear with me, I've actually just sat down and made some notes just before I came on this evening, because I want to get all the pointers across, where it came from, how we do it, and what the aim and intention is for everyone and what we will be doing going forward. So I've a couple of tiny little short videos, if we've got time for you to see those. I think one of them, we only created it about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I think it only went out last week, just as a reminder to people who are moving through this time that we still exist. So the topic that I said to Praveen will be, why are festivals, wellbeing festivals, good for the soul? Now, I'll come back to it later, but initially and ultimately, it's I think all of us here being in holistic practice in one way or another, it's a prerequisite to make a general assumption that people do fear change. And all of us working with individuals, sometimes it takes those little nudges and shovels with our clients to just get them into that realm of change. And we have to sort of sometimes coax them into it in our therapeutic ways. And believe it or not, we do exactly the same with our festival. But like Praveen said, it's just en masse. So for those of you who have not met me before, my name is Diane Mitchell, and I'm founder of the Wonderful World of Wellbeing. And we all have our why, and sometimes it changes and sometimes we have to re-establish. But I'm going to briefly share with you the background as to why the festivals came about and what is my why around this. So in about 15 years ago, I was given 12 weeks to live. Now, whilst I was looking at the scientific evidence for that, at the moment that I was given that information, I had a complete inner shift. And the easiest way to describe it, it was a complete alignment of mind, body and soul all at one. And my inner world told me that I was going to be okay and that I wasn't going to die, despite what I was looking at and what I was wearing, this mass on the side of my neck that was described as cancer. So needless to say, although I felt quite assured and resolute inside that my journey would continue, I had things to do. I've now got a 12-week time frame around my life. So I sold everything by the house that I was living in and immediately began my journey. And what I found through the following 12 to 18 months, and I'm still on that journey really, but definitely within the following 18 months, it was a holistic life that brought me out of the other side. There's no doubt about it. So in terms of the medical team, I thought I had a fantastic team until I sacked them the night before surgery. I wasn't given any choices, and I was told that I had to have a full neck dissection, which was the removal of my voice box, followed by whatever treatment was required, which would have been either chemo or radio at the time, and just to wait for the outcome of the operation to see what there was going to do. At no point was I given any choice, and it wasn't until the night before surgery that I decided that particular surgeon, the way that he communicated with me was not suitable at all. So I just decided I was calling the surgery off, and thankfully I did, because I still own my own voice box today, and I never had any chemo or radio or anything. I was eventually steered to another group of medics that came in and just removed the mass, and then we worked with the rest, and nothing else needed to be done in terms of a medical sense. But through those 12 months, and people just naturally sort of seemed to come out of the woodwork. I've always lived a holistic life, and I was running a holistic business at the time, but nothing what I do now, nothing in comparison to what I do now. And it was the journey as I was coming out the other side, I just realised this is nothing short of a miracle, that I'd got counsellors who had assisted me on my journey, psychotherapists. I was introduced to educational retreats for grief and loss and mindfulness. And then I was invited, as part of that journey, I was invited to work in their educational retreats, because in a former life I used to teach. So my role transpired over probably several years, and nothing forced, nothing pushed. I just slowed it right down. And the whole outcome is the work that I do today. But through that journey, as I kept steering through, and even although I appeared okay on the outside to everyone, initially there was a catastrophic explosion on the inside, and it was the mindset people, the counsellors, the food, holistic practices, even with down to essential oils, and I started growing my own food, and all these different interventions that I would have and did engage with before, but now I found myself doing it on purpose, and I had a real need for it. And as I was moving through, I just realised that although I took control and I was my decision maker in my own life, I wasn't given choices. And I thought, I can't be the only person on the planet who this has happened to. And as I shifted into a new career first of all, I was formally invited to train in mindfulness. So I undertook that. And I was so excited about learning mindfulness. I thought, oh my God, I'm going to learn this new phenomenon. So I rocked up the first day for our official training, and I was like, oh, but I live like that. And what I sort of realised from that was it was my life, but I didn't have the language or the formal training around it. So it just fitted like an absolute glove. So that was my first level of shift in eventuating in a new career. And the second part, because I work in private practice as well, the second part of what I do is the mindset work. So when I was first given that prognosis and I had an inner shift, I remembered looking at my body thinking, something's happened. I've no idea what it is, but when I've sorted this out, I will come back and explore that and understand every single thing that happened. So over the following couple of years, that's exactly what I did. And that has eventuated in my private practice today of Change Your Mind, Change Your Life, which is a one-to-one therapy that rewrites what's going on in here and bringing people out of the headspace and putting them where they need to be, where their soul and their cellular response needs to be. So the reason why I've given you that background is because one day I was working with a client one-on-one, and I just thought, this is not enough. It's just not enough. It's okay doing all this great work with one-to-one people, but it's not giving them the choices and opportunities to create change for their own lives on the scale that's required. Now, at this stage in my life, I was living in the Southern Hemisphere, and it was quite a very holistic environment that we were living in. But people still weren't aware of the choices. They were being governed by medical decisions and not medical choices. And also, they didn't even know they had other choices. And lots of people didn't even know that holistic therapies were available and in the wider extremities that we have them. And Praveen mentioned earlier about the networking. Now, our networking has come off the back of our first London festival, and it worked really well. And one of the things I'm good at is bringing people together and introducing them. So I found myself signposting all the time. But this particular experience I had with a client, I just thought, I need to bring the bigger picture. I know I can bring people together. I need to do it en masse and provide the umbrella where that can happen. So I actually hosted my first exhibition overseas in Australia. And part of my journey was to come back to live in the UK. So I returned here in late 2014. And so I sold everything up over there, relocated back to the UK, fully expecting that the Wellbeing festivals would be all taken care of here. I mean, I visited back enough and had enough experiences. But what I initially came back was with my retreat company, running educational retreats and my mindset work. And I found myself exhibiting in places that were either completely spiritual, mind, body and spirit, or I were in corporate events. And I couldn't find that middle road of the whole slice of every different gamut of health and well-being together. So it was March 2017 when I first launched Wonderful World of Wellbeing festivals in the north of England, and it took off so well. I think we had 3 festivals the first year. There's lots of different facets to it. So we know that people change and learn through, well, predominantly learn through either hearing, seeing or experiencing. And that is my take on life. That's how I've always come through. And it's more so about how something leaves me feeling than anything else that's my driver, if you like. But we all have tendencies to lean towards one or the other of those 3 ways in which we absorb information. And being a mindfulness instructor, I know, and Nina, if she's still with us, she'll back me up on this. Mindfulness is an absolute game changer. And I can honestly say, in a critical stage of my life, it changed and it saved my life. I mean, being given the information of 12 weeks to live, I immediately became present. And it was like I wanted to get out of my own way for well over a year. And I couldn't describe what state I was in. And it was only at the end of probably a year or so that my counsellor, who was also a brilliant mindfulness instructor, she would never answer that question. I kept saying to her, why do I want to get out of my own way? But I was just completely present. Now, it's a beautiful state to be in for a few moments or a few minutes or half an hour, but not every day for a year. But I also realised all the different components around mindfulness is what changed my inner world. And within that, it was the kindness that was shown to me, the decision-making, the gentleness, the non-judgment, and just that silence and solitude that comes through meditation and mindfulness and people just being pleasant. You know, it wasn't that I hadn't had it in my life. My awareness just became extremely heightened. So with that, and the realization when I came back to the UK that there wasn't a true wellbeing festival back then, I thought actually after 2 years of exhibiting with my private company, I thought there's space for this here. And I can readapt it to the British audience as opposed to what we did in the Southern Hemisphere. So every decision about our festivals is based on mindfulness. Now, when we first launched in the north of England, we had a mindfulness section, a talk section, a workshop, live experiences, then the exhibition arena itself. And there were people in there exhibiting for children's wellbeing at the time, but it was all sort of mixed into one. But the mindfulness was phenomenal. I mean, it was just packed out every day for the whole weekend. So when I decided the year after we were coming to London, I just blueprinted the same plan, and there was nobody offering mindfulness here. I couldn't find mindfulness. I was absolutely sickened, but I thought, well, the plan's still the same, the intention's still the same, all the decision making right through to the crew and who was exhibiting with us, every single decision is made in a mindful way, which brings the outcome. So it wasn't until I think a couple of weeks before my first festival that I actually met Nina. She rang me up and said, "Is this your festival?" Which started a beautiful friendship and relationship, what developed the mindfulness in London for our second festival in 2019. However, we went on to run our first festival. So everything but the mindfulness arena we had in London. And just let me go back to my notes. So the intention is just the same. Now, I think it was about 10 months before I was actually working in my private practice down here, and I thought I better have a look for a venue. So I just went, and I just said to somebody while having a drink one evening, where can we have, we can accommodate, say, about 70 or 80 exhibitors? And they said, well, a race course. And I were in Shepperton or Sunbury at the time. So the following day I trundled up to Kempton Park and they showed me around, and I just went, oh yeah, I'll book it. And I was in a cold market, didn't know, I hardly knew anybody down here apart from a couple of friends, and I'd certainly not done networking down here, but that's the power of online as well. But me, I prefer face-to-face, which is what makes the difference. Having run retreats, face-to-face experiences and getting people in a room. Back then, that was my experience of what created change. So now we know it's a broader picture because we're doing all this online as well. So I hired this race course, and that was, I think it was October or November, and then I booked it for the following June. So I came to Surrey for Christmas and New Year, and then on the 2nd of January I went to a networking meeting and just knew that was it. So I basically just closed my house in Yorkshire and stayed down here for the 6 months until we ran our first festival. And there's a lot of different facets to it, because even when people, they like to go to shows, they like to ignore the fact that, and I might sound direct and coarse to some of you, but I'm from Yorkshire originally, so I tend to just say it as it is. Now, in my years and years and years of experience, people will always want to help others before they'll help themselves. And they always want to avoid going to the core issue, and everything, all the arrows point around personal fear. And the life that I was lucky to experience and create and cultivate and live, and then reinvent myself while I was in Australia, I suppose, through my experience, I realised that to get people to change, you just had to sort of slide in sideways. So whilst the primary role there's two primary levels to our festivals. The first one is for me to provide a platform so that small to medium-sized businesses can elevate their business, because there's everything that anyone needs in holistic alternative practices, products and therapies. That's my belief. And it's not that I don't believe in medical intervention. There's a place for both. It's just that in my 50 odd years, the experience and the most wondrous experiences and healing capacities for people who have lived through trauma, disease and major upset and shifts in their life, it's the holistic interventions that's actually brought them out the other side rather than the bodies being chopped up. So the principle here is to bring a group of professionals together, provide that collective energy in a very diverse way, offering lots of different experiences, so that then we can market to the public and bring specific visitors in, not interested in people wanting to kill time. It all looks like it's really nice and soft and flowy, and it is, and that's how it's created on the surface for a complete experience. But the aim is to change everybody's lives who walks through that door. And if we can change the lives of the visitors, it propels the businesses of the people who are exhibiting with us. And I think Praveen came and exhibited with me for the first time, and I think it changed his perception. I think the first time he'd ever exhibited, he might share that later. But came to look at it one year and then exhibited the second year with us. So the aim is to create shifts at both levels. Pre-COVID, it was happening. I honestly believe that tilt was absolutely happening. And I think for whatever is going on and all the reasons behind what the hierarchy are doing, I think it's just sort of put a little jab in there and slowed things down to a degree in terms of live festivals. But we're not going away. And all it's doing is building the pressure pot for people to come back. So, and the weirdest things happen as well. At the end of our second festival, I normally have a videographer, and I give him the brief and then I let him get on with it. I don't interfere with anything. I don't sort anything out for testimonials. And at the end of the second one, he said, "We really need you on this video, Di." So I said, "Okay." So I just started talking, and right at the very end, I think if we got a chance, I'll play you this video. Right at the very end, I just said, what we do is to seep well-being into people's lives sideways, so really they don't realize what's happening, because people, the first thing they do is they either remember the brilliant experience or the worst part about it. So our intention is to leave everybody feeling really good and connecting with the feelings and emotions about what they're experiencing, rather than having to have a need to buy stuff that gives them an interim fix to what the life changes really need. So if it was purely up to me and I wanted to be sort of really straight-laced about it, I wouldn't necessarily have retail. I'd just have all therapists and experiences. But of course, we have to have an arrangement of people selling stuff of all different artifacts and types that all lead to the same thing. If somebody buys a product that they absolutely fall in love with, and I mean, we've had artists there, we've had some amazing people selling the most amazing things. That's what makes people feel good when they come through our door. That's going to lower their barrier of fear. So they might start experiencing live classes, might go to a talk, just having conversations with our brilliant exhibitors, and it all works. So ultimately, I don't care which way we get it in, we just get it in and we just keep working towards these mini experiences. So whilst we have the arena and different talks, workshops, shows, then we have subliminal things going on like music. Up in the north of England, we had singers, we had unicorns, we had all sorts of ethereal creatures flying around. In London, we have people on stilts and gifting, and there's all sorts of subliminal retreats that we bring unexpectedly to our visitors that just silently go on within each festival. So,
Diane, I mean, wonderful stuff so far. Do you think, could we start to draw in anyone else's experiences from that? Get some kind of Q&A type stuff coming in?
Yeah.
Fantastic, but brilliant stuff so far. Really kind of just giving the energy and the vision to have events.
Yeah. Has anybody here been to a festival? You might want to all unmute yourselves. Has everybody got the facility to unmute themselves, Praveen?
Unless you've got sound in your background, then don't worry about it, just unmute.
Just so you know, Praveen, I can hardly hear what you're saying.
Sorry, thank you. Thanks for the. How about now? Can you hear me now?
A little bit better, yeah.
That is, sorry.
That's okay. So, yes.
Hello, my love. Yes, as you know, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. I'm also running events in Surrey.
Fabulous.
With the same subject, psychic and holistic. And the next one is in September. Yes, I can understand where you're coming from. But, you know, I join other people as well, other events, other festivals. which I'm very proud of. I love it, absolutely love it. So I know what you're talking about. It's a tough job, but at the end of the day, this is nothing to do with money. It's to do with satisfaction in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. If money was at the heart of it, we wouldn't be here. it's, you know, eventually it all serves up, but the purpose is about changing. It's about honoring the bigger picture, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Has anyone else got an experience they'd like to share? Jill.
Oh, you
Hi.
can go first,
Oh,
Jill.
sorry, Shabira. Shabira, go ahead.
Right. Jill can go first.
That's okay. Go on, you're talking, Shabira.
Oh, do you want me to say something? Yeah, I was just gonna say, Diane, I've actually been to your event in Kempton Park. This was 2 years ago. I know the exact date. It was 11th of May, because it was the day of my sister's birthday, and she wanted to go there on her birthday, and yeah, so we went together, and it was really amazing. Actually, we went along to a number of different talks there. I know you had some people doing dancing. I think it was something like chakra dancing. You had somebody doing that, and then you had all the stalls there as well. So really, I mean, like, big respect to you, Diane, because I know that it's a lot of hard work. I've done small, very small scale physical events. I run an online event right now. I've been doing that since towards the end of last year, but I've not done any events on the scale that you have. So you know, honestly, hats off to you. And this is the first time that I've actually heard your story about you being given only you know, 12 weeks to live, and I didn't know that. So wow, I mean, what an incredible story. And you know, the fact that you didn't give up, and you didn't you know, listen to the doctor, you know, to the doctors, to conventional medicine, and you know, and that's why you're here today, and you know, you being such an incredible inspiration as well. So yeah, you know,
thank you.
Sharing your
well,
story.
I've got a question to ask you, Shabira. It's seen as you were at our first Surrey festival, or the second one maybe. So our profession is to seep well-being and hit one point, so that, for my principle, if everybody walks away with at least one thing better than they came with, that's job done. It's the box ticked. What one thing could you say that seeped and made a difference to you from that festival, of what we put on that year?
Oh wow, I mean, it was just the atmosphere. You know, I learned a lot from going along to the talks that you had put on, and you know, the atmosphere, the kind of the you know, it was all about well-being, and I felt really energized and inspired, and yeah, you know, just all those things, and I felt comfortable just you know, when my sister and I were sitting down for lunch, we you know, we were speaking to somebody who was from oh gosh, they unfortunately they've closed down now, but they were one of the staff members of this place in Kingston. It was kind of like an alternative clinic. I can't remember, they had a stall there as well. Oh gosh, I can't remember.
Was it the Willow?
The Willow, yes, that's right. Yeah. So I, you know, we were just sat down with one of the staff members there, and I just felt comfortable. You know, it's the fact that, like, you know, you could just go up to anyone and just talk to them. And I remember going along to one of to one of the talks, and the speaker spoke. She's a life coach. I've forgotten her name now, but I really felt inspired by her talk. Actually, you know, she had a story to tell, and it was I think she's quite famous in that I think she's been on the TV on telly before as a journalist, and then she went on to do coaching. And I remember her actually doing this particular exercise with everyone about what's important to them, in their social life, in their business, in their it was she had this concept of this circle of I've forgotten what it was now, but yeah, it was about sort of between 1 to 10 where you are in each of the areas of your life.
A wheel of life. A wheel
yes,
of
like
life.
a wheel. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And that's part of the thing. Every you will have noticed, and just to let anybody here know who's not been to one of our festivals yet, we don't have two of the same exhibitors. I run it as a single category event, and in 2019 we had 109 exhibitors in the exhibition hall, and I think there was only two categories that I had to open up to multiply, but that was for the user demand. Everybody else was single category, and across every talk and live workshop and experience we offer exactly the same. It's everybody's coming from a complete point of difference. And the thing that's really pleases me to hear you say, Shabira, is the fact that you sat and you felt really comfortable. Now that's what mindfulness brings, because mindfulness sits comfortably with all the 80 billion cells that we have in our bodies. So one of the things Deborah was talking about, judgment earlier, I know when we open our doors and people are in the queues to come in, you can feel the edge sometimes. You can feel that they're bringing their energies with them. And I stand really comfortable thinking that's just going to fall away, because of every decision that's been made. People start to come down and start to flow in with it. And you've described it, what our intention is, perfectly. You felt so comfortable. And that's what mindfulness brings, and every decision about the festival is based on that. And Nina will back me up on that, because Nina came and supported the second year.
Yeah, I was in the,
Just hang on a second, we've got Praveen.
Can I just cut? Sorry, I'm going to ask you to continue. Absolutely.